welcome everyone to tonight's council meeting. I'm the Mayor, Councillor Rankarasik. I declare this meeting open at 7:02. This meeting is being live streamed on council website. Brimbank City Council does not record the details of members of the public who view the live stream. An audio and video recording of the meeting will be published on council's website. Item 1, opening. Please stand for acknowledgement of country. Thank you. On behalf of the Brimbank City Council, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land, the Wurundjeri people, and to pay our respect to elders past, present, and emerging. Item 2, council commitment. I ask councillors to remain standing for the council commitment. As the council, we will act in the best interest of the Brimbank community and consider the immediate and long-term impact of our decisions. We will make those decisions fairly and without bias. We will uphold all of our obligations under the law of Victoria and council's local law, and we will act in accordance with our code of conduct. Please, everyone, take a seat. Item 3, apologies. There are no apologies for tonight's meeting. Item 4 would be declaration of conflict. Is there any declaration of conflict tonight? Yes, we have the Helen Morrissey, CEO. She's declaring conflict of interest.
Thank you, Mayor. In accordance with the Brimbank City Council governance rules, I'm declaring a general conflict of interest for item 12.16, which I've previously disclosed to the Mayor and noting is also disclosed in the relevant report. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam CEO. Item 5, designation of items as confidential. There are 3 items to be designated as confidential. May I have a mover of motion to designate the items confidential? Yes, Councillor David.
All the confidential means, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Is there a second of the motion? Yes, Councillor Borg.
I'll second that, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor David, would you like to speak to the motion?
No, Madam Mayor.
Seconder, which is Councillor Borg, would you like to speak to the motion?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Or would any councillors like to speak to the motion? I'll put motion to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. Thank you, councillors. I declare motion carried. Thank you. So we're going to go to item 6, which is confirmation of minutes of previous meetings. May I have a mover of a motion to confirm the minutes of the previous council meetings? Thank you, Councillor Jasmine Nguyen. Is there a second of the motion? Thank you, Councillor Chonglu. Councillor Nguyen, would you like to speak to the motion?
Ready.
Councillor Chonglu, would you like to speak to the motion?
Oh, no, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. I put motion to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. Thank you. Thank you all. I declare this motion to be carried. Item 7, condolences. There are 2 items of condolences. 7.1, passing of Paul Gluchenko. May I have a mover of a motion of condolences?
Madam Mayor,
Thank you.
I would like to move that motion of condolence. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Takos. Do I have a seconder to the motion? Thank you, Councillor Kerr. Does Councillor Takos, mover of a motion, would like to speak on to the motion?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. On behalf of this council, and on behalf of the Kilo community, it is great sadness that we learnt of the death of Paul Goshenko just prior to Christmas. Over a number of years, Paul contributed enormously to the Kilo community and in particular to the sporting community. He served the committee of the Kilo Sports, the Kilo Gift Committee and the Kilo Football Club for a combined total of 50 years. Aside from his committee work, Paul was well known to the council staff in his role of council liaison officer for the Kilo Gift, and for several years he has been the Kilo Football Club statistician. He will be sadly missed by the Kilo community. We pass our condolences to his family. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Takos. Would seconder, Councillor Kerr, like to speak to the motion?
I'd just like to offer my condolences to the family.
Thank you, thank you, Councillor Kerr. I'll put motion to vote. All in favour, please raise your hand. Thank you. I declare this motion carried. Thank you. So we're going to go to 7.2, which is passing of John James Perrott. May I have a mover of a motion of condolences? Thank you, Councillor Takos. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Bork. Would Councillor Takos like to talk?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, Mr. Perrott was a resident of St Albans. He grew up riding horses in the paddocks of St Albans, playing football and tennis. He never left St Albans, spending most of his professional life as a pharmacist on Main Road West, as well as working on his father's farm. He was devoted to his father and cared for him till his last years. John was forever indebted to the renal gift at the Royal Melbourne Hospital for a kidney transplant that gave him extra years. It provided him with great friendships. He did not have many, but the few that he did were very cherished. This council expresses its sincere condolences to Mr. Perrott's extended family and his friends, and to the many who knew him as a humble local of St Albans. His kindness, his legacy will continue forevermore. Vale, Mr. John Perrott.
Thank you. Would second of a motion like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would also like to pass on my condolences to the family, friends, and the members of the community. And I would like to thank John James Perrott for his wonderful kindness and contribution to the community for over so many years.
Thank you, Councillor Borg. I'll put motion to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. Thank you. I declare motion carried. Item 8, we have congratulations. There are 3 items of congratulations. 8.1, Porky's Paddle for Bob. May I have a mover of a motion of congratulations?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to move the motion of congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Takos. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Bork. Would mover of a motion like to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. We'd like to, on behalf of Council, congratulate local Kevin O'Neill, who in riding his 1970s dragster named Purple Pain from Sunshine to Warracknabeal to raise money for Bob Fisher, who was really struggling in his fight with Parkinson's disease. That's almost 300 kilometres. The money raised so far is exceeded what his target was, around $20,000. Will be used to assist with the cost of medication, home modifications to enable him to continue to live at home. Madam Mayor, that is a huge effort from a Sunshine local, and we thank him for undertaking this amazing trip to support his mate. Thank you, Porky. On behalf of the Brimbank community, you are a legend and showed us what real mateship is about. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Takos. Would a second of a motion like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would also like to thank Kevin O'Neill for his wonderful achievements in his efforts to fight against Parkinson's disease. Congratulations.
Thank you, Councillor Bork. I'll put motion to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. Thank you all. I declare this motion carried. We've got 8.2, Medal of the Order of Australian Honours. I may have a mover of the motion of congratulations. Do I have a mover? Oh, thank you, Councillor Bork. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor David. Does mover have something to say to the motion?
I would like to move the motion that Council congratulates the recipients of the Medal of the Order of Australia, whose work was recognised on Australia Day 2021. Congratulations to you all.
Thank you. Does the seconder of the motion like to talk to the motion? Councillor David, would you like to talk to the motion?
Just to say a few words, Madam Mayor, I think it's a wonderful honour for a local to win such a prestige award, recognised by the services and everything else to the community.
Thank you. Is any other councillor would like to talk to the motion? No. I'll put motion to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. Thank you. I declare motion carried. 8.3, Brimbank Australia Day Awards. May I have a mover of a motion of congratulations? Thank you, Councillor Borg.
I would like to move that Council congratulates recipients of 2021 Brimbank Australia Day Awards with Uncle Graham Uncle Boots, known as Uncle Boots, and Auntie Joyce Cooper receiving Brimbank Citizen of the Year Award, and Otto Riddle receiving Brimbank Young Citizen of the Year Award.
Thank you. Is there a seconder to the motion? Yes, Councillor Takos. I would usually go to the mover to ask a few questions and to speak to it, but since Victoria, poor councillor, already spoke, would you like to speak to the motion? Councillor Takos?
Oh, yeah. I would just briefly like to express my sincere honour in participating in this day, along with my fellow councillor colleagues, and congratulate all those that had received a community award. The recipients are, in my view, so worthy. And one thing that really touched me on the day was Uncle Boots saying that this award means more to him than even an OAM, because it comes from the people, our community. A truly touching and special, memorable day I will cherish as a councillor. Thank you to all the council staff for organising this under very trying conditions as well. Thank you.
Thank you. I put motion to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. Thank you. I declare motion carried. Item 9, public question time. Mr. Sicaria, I understand we have received questions from members of the public. Mr. Sicaria will read aloud question.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, the first question is from Helen Chiampa, who asks, can the Keilor Downs parks be upgraded? Our parks are bare paddocks. They need more seating, shelter, and other amenities as in most parks. Our parks have barely changed in 40 years. Our parks are uninviting, people barely use them, and community spirit is low. Good parks encourage community involvement and inclusiveness. So for the health and well-being of our community, please upgrade the parks in Keilor Downs.
Thank you for your question. I have been advised that since 2008, Council has upgraded 111 parks across Brimbank and spent around 35 million transforming the park network through the continued implement of the Brimbank Creating Better Parks policy and plan. There are 3 suburban parks and 8 neighbourhood parks in Keilor Downs. Amongst the suburban park, Green Gully Reserve was recently upgraded and opened in July 2019 when Council spent 800,000 on upgrading the facilities and play equipment in the park. The upgrade also included a new toilet. Furthermore, 3 of the neighbourhood parks in Keilor Downs have been upgraded in the last 5 years, including Proctor Crescent Reserve, Singer Avenue Reserve, and the Antwerp Reserve. Upgrades to the other neighbourhood parks are planned in coming years, subject to Council's annual budget process. I'm also advised that a new skate facility will be constructed in Packard Street Reserve this year. Council also continues to plant trees in the reserve to provide shade and cooling for visitors, and continues to upgrade, install circuit and shared paths to encourage workability. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, the next two questions are from Mr. Jamie Ramsey. The first question is, we have seen Brimbank Council seek community input regarding becoming a more engaged council, with residents and councillors declare that they are independent of political interference and are all about being accessible to residents to answer residents' queries. Why is it that some councillors refuse to respond back to residents' legitimate questions, concerns, purely because of political considerations?
Thank you for your question. Council has recently concluded consulting on the community engagement policy, and this will be the guiding document, a document for community engagement and relations moving forward. I can also confirm that councillors have their direct email addresses and mobile phone numbers published on council website. This is for community members to direct contact councillors to have legitimate, I can't say this word, I'm so sorry, legitimate concerns and questions addressed. Many councils also have social media accounts in which people can make comment. So, well, this is clear that my council is available for respectful and courteous engagement with everyone. It is also important to understand that councils may choose to end correspondence or not engage if they feel that person is being unresponsible, aggressive, misleading, or is increasingly persisting or demanding. I also acknowledge that not everyone will like to respond or answer they receive from council or councillor, but we do try to accommodate everyone, which most people understand. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, the next question from Jamie Ramsey is, Upper Stony Creek Transformation Project was declared as being a shining light on environmental rehabilitation for an area long neglected and lacking in green space and community facilities for recreation and exercise. Will Council actually ensure this project is completed to a standard so residents can make use of the walking track with families, given there is no toilet, water taps, or shade along the track?
Thank you. Thank you for your question. The Upper Stony Creek project in North Sunshine has provided residents and the local community with a well-designed, usable green open space and natural environment. I'm advised that Melbourne Water has nearly completed all works for Upper Stony Creek project, with remaining works including the installation of stormwater harvesting and irrigation system scheduled for completion in the coming months. This system is being funded by the state government after council successfully applied and advocated for $500,000 funding through the Water for Victoria program. In addition, council is planning a new pocket park at the end of Carey Street, which will create a new green space for the community together and will connect directly to the Stony Creek Wetland Circuit Path. This is being funded through $1.12 million in state government funding as a part of the local park program, which council successfully advocate for. The Upper Stony Creek project continues to remain an advocacy priority for council. Council will continue to identify opportunities for further funding. We also continue advocacy and raise the need for the project to be completed to the original intent scope with the relevant parliamentarians, officials, and entitles as opportunities areas.
Madam Mayor, the next two questions are from Mr. Richard Carthew. They're related, so I might ask them both together. The first question is, how much does it cost Brimbank City Council to print the quarterly newsletter, Sunshine Rising? The second question is, how much does it cost Brimbank City Council to mail out the quarterly newsletter, Sunshine Rising?
Thank you for your question. Answer to the first one is the print cost for the most recent January 2021 edition of Sunshine Rising, A4 pages, 1,200 copies, was $676.50. And the answer to the second one is the cost of distribution of the last edition to property owners and Occupiers in the Sunshine Town Centre was $2,605, including delivery to business operators, $726, and postage to property owners, $1,879. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, the next two questions are from Mr. John Heddich. The first question is, about 6 months ago, just prior to the caretaker period, the previous council decided, based on officer recommendations, to let the contract for the $60 million St Albans Leisure Centre project without conducting further due diligence on the pre-COVID side master plan, all under one roof design and subcontractor design completion and pricing. As we as a community now work through lockdown 3.0, testing and upcoming vaccination programs, and still observe virus transmission through indoor settings, air conditioning and ventilation and other means, when will Brimbank Council begin a formal process of monthly project progress reporting through the Chamber to regularly inform councillors and the community about 1. Approved COVID-safe contract variations and others still under consideration on the St Albans Leisure Centre redevelopment project to provide better outdoor opportunities and mitigate the risk of coronavirus transmissions. 2. The total project end cost budget and its funders, for example, Brimbank residents 58 million, Victorian Government 2 million. 3. Listing of all contract variations and costs. 4. Project start date and end date. 5. Percentage of work complete versus percentage of time elapsed. 6. A monthly key issues report describing project progress and key issues finalized and those being worked through at the time.
Thank you for your question. I have been advised that similar to other key council projects, council will receive periodic progress reports on the St Albans Leisure Centre replacement, health and wellbeing hub project. The reports will include an update on the design components of the project, status of construction, and an update on project budget and program. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, the next question from Mr. Heddich is, surely the Brimbank Council, as community stewards of the land at 274 Forest Street, Ardea, needs to decide its preferred use of its scarce public land as a public open space, an activity centre, or a road reserve, and not simply accept the state government's level crossing removal authority demands and bulldozing the community out of the way to meet its objectives. A win/win, not a win/lose outcome, needs to be negotiated with Brimbank Council, first making a decision on preferred use of its land. Why isn't Brimbank Council being given the opportunity to decide on the community's preferred use of council-owned public open space at 274 Forest Street, Ardea, rather than simply rolling over and acquiescing to the level crossing removal authority land grab based on its lowest cost single option?
Thank you for your question. In January 2020, the state government declared Fitzgerald Road Ardea level crossing removal project a declared project under the Major Transport Project Facilitation Act 2009, and the planning process for this project was transferred to the state government. In July 2020, the state government announced that the level crossing at Fitzgerald Road, Ardea, and Robinson Road, Deer Park would be fast-tracked for removal by 2023, and released information to the community on the design solution for the level crossing removals. In August 2020, the Minister for Planning designated a project area for the project, which includes council land at 274 Forest Street, Ardea. I know that council will be considering a report on Deer Park Rail Corridor level crossing removal project as a part of tonight's meeting.
Madam Mayor, the last two questions are from Ms. Despina Havelas. The first question is, with the impact of COVID-19 on our vulnerable and carers, besides a phone call, what specific steps has council taken to check in on these groups?
Thank you for your question. Alongside state government, council took a strong position to ensure its most vulnerable community members would be supported. Adapting programs, services, and activities for people to access from their home become a priority. Alongside regular welfare checks and direct assistance with support such as food and mental aid packages, the Brimbank community Connector program has been established and offers support to vulnerable residents impacted by COVID-19. This includes emotional, practical, and social connections. More detailed information about the range of support has been reported on to Council, and we are happy to send you more details, a detailed list. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, the final question, again from Ms. Despina Havelas, is many residents are cleaning up during COVID lockdowns. What is Brimbank City Council's current policy and fines for leaving rubbish or scrap metal on nature strips?
Thank you for your question. Council takes the matter of waste very seriously and has implemented a number of initiatives to assist residents in the disposal of their rubbish rather than dumping on the nature strip. Brimbank offers a no charge at call hard waste collection service that can be booked online via the council website or by calling 9249 4728. After booking a pickup, resident may place the items out for collection. Sometimes items may be left out longer than required, and this can be reported to council for follow-up. Should resident be caught illegally dumping rubbish, penalties range from an on-spot fine of $330 to a prosecution in the magistrate court for aggravated littering, which may carry a penalty of over $10,000. Thank you. We're going to go now to item 10, to petitions. There are 2 petitions to be received. Under the Government Rule 2020, at council meeting, petitions may only be received and referred to the planning process of the Chief Executive Officer for consideration. Councillors, that means individuals' petitions will not be considered or discussed this evening. 10.1, Development Plan at 32A Green Gully Road, Keilor. May I have a mover of a motion to receive the petition? Thank you, Councillor Tarkos.
Madam Mayor, I move the motion as per office papers to receive the petition. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Borg. Would the mover like to speak to the motion, or as per shared screen, as you said?
I don't believe I speak to it, but I just move to accept the petition. Thank you.
Okay, would the seconder like to speak to the motion?
Same, Madam Mayor. I would like to accept the petition. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll put motion to the vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. Thank you. I declare this motion carried. We're going to go to 10.2, safety issues and traffic at Fraser Street, Sunshine. May I have a mover of the motion to receive the petition? Councillor Nguyen. Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor David. Would the mover like to speak to the motion? Councillor Nguyen.
I would like to move the motion as per office papers.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Would the seconder like to speak to the motion?
Just to move that the petition be received and noticed, Madam Mayor. That's what I have to do. Yeah.
Thank you. I put motion to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. Thank you. So we have all the hands up. So I declare this motion carried. Item 11, minutes reports of delegated committees. So there are no minutes or reports of delegated committees. Item 12, we've got our officer reports. There are 70 officer reports for consideration by council tonight. We have 12.1 report, COVID-19 response and recovery strategy progress report. with Director Ms. Lionel Dumble. I would first like to say a few words on this report before I give word to Ms. Lionel Dumble. Brimbank's Whole of Council COVID-19 Response and Recovery Report of the period of December 2020 to January 2021 provides an update on the ongoing crucial and important work Council is continuing to play in supporting our residents through this pandemic. Some key highlights I would like to acknowledge and commend. Council offices on during this period include 801 applications through Council COVID-19 financial hardship policy now having been received from residents, with 497 approved to date. 130 new workers employed with Brimbank Council through the state's 8 million Working for Victoria program, developing a variety of local on-the-ground initiatives, including open space park and art murals and community outreach, 329 library to your door visits to residents, 240 females engaged in neighborhood house school holiday programs, families. Our maternal and child health staff continuing to respond and support our local newborn and parents. The new leisure center website seeing over 22,000 new users and visitors. A community health and wellbeing survey being completed by over 500 residents. Council providing over 177,000 in stage 1 COVID-19 community recovery grants. Council allocating the COVID-19 business grant program to 32 successful applicants and businesses. Council now having successfully applied and advocated for over 103.3 million funding towards local shovel-ready projects, programs and initiatives to support health, well-being and economic recovery to COVID-19 pandemic. Staff responding to the ongoing and evolving return to work restriction across all of the council facilities and centres. These and other updates contained in the report or of the commendable initiatives which are continuing to assist all cross municipality, which the organisation and each of us councillors should be proud of. However, was someone saying something? Okay, I'll just carry on. However, we should also take this moment to reflect on the impact COVID-19 had on our community during 2020, including throughout the height of the pandemic, where Brimbank continued to sadly experience high numbers of overall and active cases on a daily basis, as well as some of the most serious clusters associated with local postcodes, neighbourhoods, schools, workplaces, and aged care. Well, this has taken significant work to engage, educate, and support our community in partnership with state government, DHHS, Western Health, and others to help drive case numbers down. Recent example from just last week with 3 new exposure sites across Sunshine and Taylor's Lakes identified, as well as the current circuit breaker lockdown showed just how fragile and volatile our current situation is. We must all continue to remain vigilant and play our part in adhering to social distancing advice, wearing our mask indoor spaces where appropriate and regular washing hands. When the whole of the Council COVID-19 response strategy was updated by Council on 6th of April 2020, it rightly acknowledged that Brimbank remained heavily vulnerable to an ongoing and prolonged pandemic due to our community's pre-existing social economic challenges. That is why Council will continue to do what we can do to help keep our community safe, and why we will continue to advocate as outlined in our 19-point action plan for COVID-19 recovery for our dedicated health, well-being and economic support package for Brimbank from the federal and state government. Just like other regions that has experienced severe social economic shock into the past, such as Geelong with the closure of Ford, the Latrobe Valley with the closure of Hazelwood, as well as our bushfire affected communities, the ongoing impact from the pandemic will require a dedicated response packages for Brimbank. and will several of the initiatives contained in the action plan have now been adopted by government, including the establishment of local rapid response teams, Delegate multicultural community response, increased testing and support for workers and businesses, increased investment in social and welfare support, and over 103 million towards local shovel-ready projects, programs, and initiatives. Even more will continue to be needed. This is why, over my term, I will remain committed to ensure our community needs and priorities are the forefront of government. And on this note, I would like to foreshadow the advocacy report in tonight's agenda, which will provide a further opportunity to discuss this issue, challenges and opportunities. I commend this report to the Chamber and look forward to working with all of you and community over my term. I help lead Councillors' ongoing response to this evolving and ongoing pandemic. Now I would like to take this to Ms. Lindley Dumble. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This report is presented to Council to consider noting the progress made towards implementation of the Brimbank Coronavirus Response and Recovery Strategy for the reporting period of the 1st of December 2020 to the 30th of January 2021. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dumble. Councillors, are there any questions or points of clarification for Director Ms. Lindley Dumble? No, thank you. Is there a mover of a motion? Thank you, Councillor Takos. Is there a seconder of the motion? Thank you, Councillor Borg. I put motion to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands.
No.
Thank you. I declare this motion carried. We're going to go to 12.2, Planning Activity Update and Delegate Decision December 2020 and January 2021 with Director Mr. Kelvin Walsh.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The purpose of this report is to advise Council of the status of planning permit applications and trends in planning approvals in Brimbank and decisions made under delegated authority in December 2020 and January 2021 regarding planning permit applications and other matters. The officers recommend that Council notes the Planning Activity Update and Delegated Decisions report and the Delegated Planning Permit Decisions at Attachment 1 to this report. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillors, are there any questions or points of clarification for Director Mr. Kelvin Walsh? No, thank you all. Do I have a mover of the motion? Thank you, Councillor Lancashire.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move the officer's recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Lancashire. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Kerr. I invite Councillor Lancashire, mover of a motion, to speak.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just briefly, the report is always interesting. I do note that the approvals from January 2020 at 85 million has now gone down in January 21 to 8.7 million, which is a very substantial drop and indicates the difficulty our community is having in the development area during COVID. And I think it certainly highlights the significance and importance of the work the Council is doing on our COVID committee and portfolio in that area. So we have a very large number of grants from government, and those grants are extremely important in helping to lift our community. And those sort of figures show the value in the contribution that is being made by other levels of government to our municipality. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Lancashire. I invite Councillor Kerr, second of a motion to speak to the motion.
Per the papers.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Would any other councillor like to speak to the motion? No? I put motion to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. Thank you. I declare this motion carried. Thank you. We're going to go to 12.3, Planning Compliance Activity Update, 1st October to 31st October 2020 with Mr. Calvin Walsh.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The purpose of this report is to advise Council of planning compliance activity for the period 1st of October to 31st of December 2020. Officers recommend that Council notes the planning compliance activity update as per the papers.
Thank you, Mr. Calvin Walsh. I would like to ask, are there any questions of point of clarification for Director? No? Can I have a mover of the motion, please? Councillor Lancashire, thank you. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Nguyen, thank you.
Move the officer's recommendation, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lancashire. I invite second of a motion to speak.
Yeah, I would like to second the recognise for the other speakers.
Thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak to the motion? No, I'll put motion to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. Thank you all. I declare this motion carried. We're going to go to 12.4, Planning Application P76 2020 for 4 Helen Street, St Albans with Mr. Calvin Walsh. Thank you.
Thank you again, Madam Mayor. The purpose of this report is to provide Council with an assessment of the planning application P76/2020 for the construction of 3 double-storey dwellings to the rear of the existing dwelling at 4 Helen Street, St Albans, against the provisions of the Brimbank planning scheme. Officers recommend that Council issues a notice of decision to grant the planning permit for the construction of alterations to the existing dwelling and construction of the 3 double-storey dwellings to the rear at 4 Helen Street, subject to a number of conditions that are outlined in attachment 6 to this report. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillors, are there any questions or points of clarification for Director? No? Can I have a mover of the motion, please? Thank you, Councillor David. Do I have a seconder? Sorry, I can't see everyone. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Liu. I invite mover to speak to the motion. Yes.
I can see.
Sorry, Councillor Lancashire.
I can see Councillor Lancashire's hand up.
Yeah, I saw that. Yes, Councillor Lancashire.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. If I could advise that I propose an amendment to this recommendation. If the officers are able to place it up on the screen, I would like to move an amendment to that motion.
Can't see.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I move the recommendation that is now as an amendment that's up on the screen.
Do we have to read this out?
I'm moving through you, Madam Mayor. No, I will speak to it.
Okay, that's fine then. Thank you. Do we have a seconder of amendment? Thank you, Councillor Nguyen. I invite Councillor Lancashire to speak to the amendment of the motion.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, certainly we've heard from the objectors and the applicant relating to 4 Helen Street. I have been out on site and inspected the site. It was during that inspection that I noted that there are overhead power and telecom cables running to the house, which actually run across the area that is the front yard landscaping area. And the conditions of the permit require that a tree that would become a substantial tree be planted in that location. My concern there is that those power lines would eventually result in that tree being trimmed. And as such, I would like to see that the power lines and the telecom lines running to the front of the house are undergrounded so that the tree trimming doesn't need to occur in the future. I also noticed that other units in the area don't have many, or in the specific area, don't have any mature trees in the front. So I think that's fairly important to the appearance of the place, to uplift it with landscaping and that mature tree, and that this alteration will help in that regard. Now, as to the application, if I could just speak briefly to that, the house at the front is being retained, and that's often a valuable planning consideration, because what it means is the streetscape will not be affected. So the 3 units that are proposed are at the rear of the property, but as far as the street is concerned, there will be some improved landscaping. The existing house will be retained. The units at the back with highlight windows and other measures will ensure that there's no overlooking of adjoining properties. The overshadowing will be minimal on adjoining properties. The roof line of the units at the back is of a hip nature, which is in accordance with the style in the area. So again, the extended buildings at the rear will be commensurate with the style of the buildings in the area. There are certainly units opposite. There are units to the west, a number of units to the west. So taking all these things into consideration, plus the fact that the development is providing 1 car space greater than that required under our planning regulations. For all of those reasons, I consider that I would support the application and recommend the officer's recommendation to council. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Lancashire. I invite second of a motion, Councillor Nguyen, to speak to the motion, to amend the motion.
Yeah, I think there have been a couple of concerns that have been raised by residents in terms of car parking. You guys can all hear me?
It's a little bit fuzzy.
There are concerns that the permit will only be granted if the conditions are...
It's hard to hear you. Sorry, Jasmine. It's quite hard to understand.
Oh, sorry. I believe there's a 1, 2, 3.
That's a little bit better. I don't know if it's gonna stay.
Okay. Well, I'll just say that,
Yeah. Go.
Yeah. Yes, sir. I think like just they're looking into the residents' concerns and everything. I think the office of the have looked into them and addressed it. And as Councillor has said, there's more car spaces than required. There would need to be conditions for the landscaping, and given as a precedent, there's been multiple units developed nearby. I think it needs to planning recommendations. I hope you all hear me.
Thank you, Councillor Nguyen. I would like to invite now councillors to speak to the motion. Yes, Councillor Branton.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I just want to speak to that. We did hear some community concerns about the density of the housing that results in some really difficult situations with the bins and also the parking. And we've had some conversations around that. I'm so sorry. And we're exploring some solutions to that. I'm so sorry, my door's open because it's so hot in my house and my cat. We are exploring some solutions to address the parking situation as well as the bins. And we've all had the discussion around, is a housing limit appropriate in this sort of area? And it is within the urban growth boundary. And we definitely don't want some urban sprawl happening. We like to buy veggies that are grown in Australia. We like to protect our farmland and also our natural environment. And so that's why we're supporting this. Well, I can speak for myself, why we like the idea of lots of houses on a small area, because Melbourne's booming. But yeah, I just want the community to know that we have really tried to work through their concerns. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Branton. Would anyone else like to speak to the motion? Yes, Councillor David.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just I don't know if it's too late to ask a clarification from Director Walsh. This is what just heard now from Councillor Lancashire in reference to the power lines. It was always my understanding that when is there a power pole in front of the house, Councillor Lancashire?
That's correct. There is a power pole at the front of the house in the nature.
That means we involve the left and right houses of that house in reference to undergrounding as well. That's a huge type of thing. Will never happen. All I know about the units, when it's a thing as such, the units do go underground for power point of view. So they don't carry the wires from the front to the units at the back. They go underground. That's a must. And I think I'm right, Director Walsh?
Through you, Madam Mayor, the power, the pole at the front of the house only serves the current development. So the pole at the front of the house only services the current house on the site for Helen Street. It is already a requirement prior to Councillor Lancashire's amendment for the servicing, electrical servicing of the proposed rear dwellings to be underground. So that would be underground anyway to the dwellings behind. The officers in considering, the officer advice to Councillor Lancashire and to Council about the requirement to underground from the pole at the front to the front dwelling would be that it is not an unreasonable impost on the proposed development.
That's how they do it. Yeah. Look, it's nothing wrong with the amendment. It's just I didn't heard anything as such at the objectors. The only thing I heard is mainly about parking, and that we spoke many times before over briefings. We can fix problems as such, and maybe we'll look into it in the near future, Madam Mayor, where we can give the residents, and I think Councillor Luke brought something up last week, give those residents parking permit and their visitors, of course. That will avoid all this happening. It happens to me, I say, we haven't got time tonight, but it happens to me personally going to a funeral 2 weeks ago in Victoria Street, Footscray. I was rushing to go there, and all of a sudden I shoot through to a side street. I saw 2 hours parking. I said, that's nice. I parked. I came out of the church. It was $147. I didn't notice the small print, Madam Mayor. So would I park there again? The answer is no.
Probably no.
That's what it is, yeah.
Would any other sorry. Thank you, Councillor David. Would any other councillor like to speak to the motion?
To this motion, to the amendment, Madam Mayor?
To amendment, yes. No? Okay, I will put now a motion to the vote. I'm putting amendment motion to the vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. Sorry, my hand is not visible. So we have 4. All. So we're going to vote on the original motion. On accepting the motion. All in favour, please raise your hands. Sorry, I can't. Here we go. Okay, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9 of us. Sorry. All against motion, please raise your hands.
Sorry, was it 8?
9.
Well, that's enough.
I declare motion carried.
Yeah.
Thank you. We're going to go to 12.5. Draft Brimbank Industrial Design Guidelines with Mr. Kelvin Walsh.
Thank you again, Madam Mayor. The purpose of this report is for Council to consider endorsing the draft Brimbank Industrial Guidelines at Attachment 1 for the purpose of undertaking community consultation. The draft guidelines shown at Attachment 1 provide a framework to approach the subdivision and development of identified industrial land across the municipality. It is proposed the Council consult the community about the draft guidelines and seek feedback from landowners and occupiers, industry representatives, government agencies, and the community to inform the preparation of the final draft guidelines. Officers recommend that Council endorse the draft industrial design guidelines at Attachment 1 to this report for consultation as described in the report, and receives a report outlining the results of the consultation and is provided with the final draft of the guidelines at a future meeting. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillors, are there any questions or points of clarification for Director Kelvin Walsh? No? All right. Do we have a mover of a motion? Thank you, Councillor Lancashire. Do we have a seconder of the motion? Thank you, Councillor Tarkos. Would mover of the motion like to speak to the motion? Councillor Lancashire.
Chair, thank you, Madam Mayor, and certainly moving the officer's recommendation. I would like to say that industrial design guidelines, as proposed to go out for community consultation, is a very important step for Council. The industrial design areas are important workplaces for many people. They need not be ugly and dirty, and in fact, my first job as a planner was with the City of Keilor, and one of my many jobs was to go out to the Slater Parade industrial area of the time and try and clean that up in terms of getting people to comply with their planning permits. And if I look at some of the new industrial areas now, they're really exciting buildings, well landscaped, colourful, and encourage a wide array of uses in there, from warehousing to other businesses and industrial. This attracting other areas is very much an important function of a good urban design, a good industrial design policy. And this particular policy looks at some of the old Section 173 agreements. It supports renewal and appropriate industrial subdivision and development. As mentioned, it encourages a high quality design that responds to local conditions. It will improve the visual appearance, amenity of industrial area for workers, visitors, and the local community, and encourage protection enhancement of our local biodiversity values and ecological systems. And I do note that we're talking about a minimum of 30% tree canopy across the industrial land, which is a fantastic thing to see. And to demonstrate how applicants may meet these environmental design, and stormwater management objectives. Again, that's a modern engineering, civil engineering innovation to cover ourselves during droughts, and certainly to finish up, to ensure that places or objects of local heritage significant and Aboriginal cultural heritage are appropriately considered and addressed within industrial areas. So that's quite a broad spectrum that will be in that policy and out for consultation. So I would certainly encourage members of those communities and the wider community to have a look at this terrific policy, which will facilitate high quality development in our industrial area and promote jobs. So I would recommend it to Council. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lancashire. I invite Councillor Tarkos, seconder of the motion, to speak.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Industrial design guidelines are highly important. These guidelines are particularly important to the areas of Horseshoe Bend Ward, which include the industrial areas in Kealba, Keilor East, Keilor Park and Tullamarine. For a long time, the industrial precincts have been neglected, and these new guidelines are important in creating a better framework in integrating them into our communities through key design guidance, such as parking, setbacks, lighting, fencing, water sensitivity treatment, plantings, heritage preservation. I commend the report and welcome the feedback provided from our community as it goes as far to view and receive community submissions. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tarkos. I put motion to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. Thank you. I declare this motion carried. We're going to go to 12.6, draft submission to planning for Melbourne's green wedges and agriculture land with Mr. Kelvin Walsh. Thank you.
No, thank you again, Madam Mayor. The purpose of this report is for Council to consider the draft submission to the planning for Melbourne's green wedge and agricultural land consultation paper. The Department of Environmental Land, Water and Planning released the consultation paper for public consultation on the 26th of November 2020. DELP is seeking feedback on options identified in the consultation paper, which seek to strengthen protection of agricultural land and guide decision-making in green wedge and peri-urban areas around Melbourne. Council officers have prepared a draft submission to the consultation paper, which is attached. Officers recommend that Council endorse the draft submission at attachment 1 to this report and submits the attached draft submission to the Department of Environmental Land, Water and Planning through the Engage Victoria website. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillors, are there any questions or points of clarifications for Director Mr. Kelvin Walsh? No? Do I have a mover of a motion? Thank you, Councillor Lancashire. Do I have a seconder? Oops. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Nguyen. I invite mover of a motion, Councillor Lancashire, to speak to the motion.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you to the officers who have worked hard on producing this report. We have, of course, a welcome review of our green wedges by the state government, and this is our opportunity to provide feedback on that review, and the officers have done a great job in terms of assessing that. Some of the key things, of course, with our green wedge, which is particularly significant to us across the northern end of the municipality and near the airport. It includes agricultural lands, conservation lands, the Organ Pipes National Park, our largest park, Sydenham Park, golf course. So there's quite a lot of interesting things up there, and certainly anytime you go up there, you're probably bound to see kangaroos and wallabies and that. So looking after that area, and not to mention the grasslands, looking after that area is so important to this municipality, and will have in the future significant tourism potential. This proposal is involved in strengthening the legislation and to recognise the relative regional significance and productive capacity of Brimbank's agricultural land. There are opportunities and support for Brimbank's landowners to pursue alternative, innovative and economically viable uses of agricultural land consistent with the objectives of the Green Wedge areas, supported by updated policies and government investment. This is certainly an area that can be food producing in terms of Melbourne's green wedges and should be protected with support for viable economic development of agricultural and alternative uses. And as I've mentioned before, it also impacts on Melbourne Airport. Protecting this area for the future uses that will occur out of Melbourne Airport is important and should be factored into the planning controls. It also looks at resource implications for councils to undertake local studies and also gives careful consideration to other uses which may or may not be appropriate in this area, such as schools, places of worship, and those sort of things, which of course where the airport is has special significance for us. So there are funding opportunities and support to be provided to landowners to encourage ongoing agricultural uses that are innovative, productive and viable, and to undertake in sustainability. So I would certainly recommend the officer's submission that's been prepared on this to council. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Lancashire. I invite Councillor Nguyen, seconder of motion, to speak.
Okay. Hello, everyone. So this review into protecting and improving our green wedges by the state government is quite welcome. And I'd say, Brimbank, I think it's good for us as possible to preserve our green open spaces wherever we can. And, also need to note that not all green wedges are the same. So especially in the Sunbury green wedge, which Brimbank does have a portion of, we have poor quality soil, and then sometimes we need affordable water sources as well. And we need to also help out, landowners in that area to find alternative uses as well. So, and also keep in mind that there'll be Melbourne Airport extension as well. So we need to protect our green wedges.
Thank you, Councillor Nguyen. I will put motion to vote. Yes, Councillor Takos.
Am I able to speak to it too, Madam Mayor?
Yes, you are.
Thank you. This draft submission prepared by our officers in JUP is vitally important in addressing the many challenges currently that we have in the Brimbank green wedge. The Brimbank green wedge is unique and different to any other green wedge in Victoria. It has been impacted greatly by the cost of water and irrigation, and is also constrained by several Melbourne Airport overlays. Over the years, as a councillor, I've heard the concerns of many of the landowners on these green wedges. It is so important that these landowners, many of who have come from market farming families that have farmed in Keilor extensively over 100 years, are no longer able to continue their family tradition. Opportunities and support for Brimbank's landowners on these green wedges to pursue alternative and innovative economically viable uses of agricultural land should be consistent with the overreaching objectives, but need to be supported by updated policy and proper investment by the state government. The constraints on the landowners must be addressed by this process. It is vitally important, as well as the growing constraints placed by the Melbourne Airport planning controls. Appropriate resources and support should be provided by Dwell to our council as well, to our council officers who are undertaking to support these green wedges. Much more funding and more grants need to be provided and allocated to landowners to encourage them for ongoing agricultural uses that are innovative, productive and viable and undertaken sustainably. Now more than ever, supporting food producing green wedges is integral to becoming a much more self-sufficient, sustainable society and less reliance on the global economy. This cannot be achieved if food producing areas like Green Wedges do not have access to secure, affordable water and irrigation infrastructure. State and regional investment is needed in irrigation infrastructure to support Green Wedge landowners. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tarkos. Would any other councillor like to speak to the motion? Yes, Councillor Borg.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just briefly to reiterate what Councillor Lancashire and Councillor Tarkos have said and highlighted the importance to protect Melbourne's green wedge and agricultural land, more specifically the Sudbury Green Wedge in Brimbank. As Councillor Tarkos mentioned, the landowners within the Sudbury Green Wedge need to be supported to take advantage of opportunities for suitable alternatives and uses and alternative agricultural use should accompany any policy changes, particularly for those landowners who are significantly restricted by airport operations. It's important to have additional planning controls such as the environmental protection overlay or vegetation protection overlay, opportunities to use planning controls to protect and secure waterways, corridors, including the Maribyrnong River, should be further explored. I would also like to thank the council officers for the preparation of such a comprehensive submission. Thank you.
Would any other councillor like to speak to the motion? Thank you. So I put motion to vote. Any, all in favour, please raise your hands. Thank you. I declare motion carried. We'll go to 12.7, which is approval of borrowings with Director Mr. Shane Ma. I would like to invite Director Shane Ma to present the report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This report is to commence the process to undertake borrowings as approved as part of the 2020/21 budget. Officers will seek quotes from Australian banks, and the recommendation in this report is that the Chief Executive Officer and the Mayor sign the necessary documentation to take up the loan. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, are there any questions or points of clarification for Director Mr. Shane Ma? No, thank you. Is there a mover of the motion? Thank you, Councillor Borg. Is there a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Lancashire. I invite mover of the motion to speak.
Sorry, Madam Mayor, I would like to move the motion as per shared screen.
Thank you, Councillor Borg. I invite seconder to speak.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Certainly to say that there is never a better time than now to borrow with the interest rates we have. This money is vital for our capital works program and council's operation. And also that I do note in the report that it's for a 10-year fixed interest rate term and to be paid back principal and amortizing the interest over that time. That all sounds like an extremely good deal to me, and well done to Mr. Ma in that report. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Lancashire. Would any other councillor like to speak to the motion? Thank you, Councillor Liu.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just I want to briefly state that when borrowing, discounts are not considered lightly. When borrowing large amount of money, as Councillor Lancashire mentioned earlier, this is the best time to take up the loans and borrow. So the reason why we support this is the right time to take up the borrowing. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Liu. Would any other councillor like to speak to the motion? No, thank you all. I put motion to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. Thank you all. I declare this motion carried. We will go to 12.8, which is quarterly budget report for the period ending 31st December 2020 with the Director, Mr. Shane Maher.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This report is the standard report presented to Council quarterly. This quarterly report also includes a mid-year budget review that recognises major changes to Council's finances, including the continued impact of COVID-19 and the recognition of additional grants towards our Capital Works program. Also included in this report is nomination of projects for the federal government, local roads and community infrastructure program. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shane. Councillors, are there any questions or points of clarification for Director? No? Do I have a move of a motion? Thank you, Councillor Borg. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Kerr. I invite Councillor Borg, mover of the motion, to speak.
I would like to move the motion as per shared screen, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
I would like to say that this is a quarterly budget report. The forecast result for the 2020-2021 financial year is an operating surplus of $6.06 million, which is favorable to the annual budget by $5.17 million. The cash balance for the financial year ending 30th of June 2021 is forecast to be $28 million compared to a budgeted cash balance of $16.5 million, which is favorable to budget by $11.5 million. One of the highlights of this report is the proposed changes to the adopted 2020-2021 Capital Works program. Through the federal government local roads and community infrastructure program, Brimbank Council was allocated $6,262,774 in round two. A number of Brimbing nominated projects have been brought forward from future years in Council's Capital Works program. This report is also seeking the endorsement of the nominated projects. I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate all the staff involved in the successful application for the local roads and community infrastructure program. I commend this report to Council.
Thank you, Councillor Borg. I invite Councillor Kerr, seconder of motion, to speak.
I'll just, as per the shared screen, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kerr. Would any other councillor like to speak to the motion? I put motion to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. Thank you. I declare this motion carried. We're going to go to 12.9, which is Governance Report February 2021 with Mr. Dan Hogan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The monthly governance report is a standing item within the ordinary council meeting agenda. It is a summary of recent governance activity in accordance with best practice and good governance principles. Written in compliance with provisions applying respectively in the Local Government Act 1989 and the Local Government Act 2020, the report variously informs Council of delegated decisions, outcomes of previous Council resolutions, and discloses information as required under legislation. In this particular month, appointments to portfolios and committees are sought and also includes an update in relation to Sydenham Road upgrades complying with the norm previously moved by Council. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Dan Hogan. I would like to invite councillors if they have any questions or point of clarification for Director to ask or to raise. No? Do I have a mover of the motion? Thank you, Councillor Dang. Do I have a seconder of a motion? Seconder? Thank you, Councillor Liu. I invite Councillor Dang, mover of the motion, to speak.
I move the motion and per share Brim. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dan. I invite Councillor Liu, seconder of motion, to speak.
I move as per paper. Business paper.
Thank you,
Mayor.
Councillor Liu.
Madam
Would
Mayor,
any other councillors like to speak to the?
Madam Mayor, apologies for the interruption. It's also appropriate for the governance report, the motion to include the appointments to the committees.
Yep.
And portfolios.
Thank you.
So perhaps the motion to be adopted by council could include that information.
So, so do I have a mover for that inclusion? Councillor Dang?
The same councillors, Madam Mayor, I think.
Yeah. And Councillor Liu, do I have a seconder for inclusion? Yep, thank you. Thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak to the motion? No. I put motion to vote. All in favour.
Madam Mayor, I'm sorry,
No,
Madam Mayor, I'm sorry to interrupt again. I apologise. Perhaps Councillor Branton might have some suggestions in regards to what needs to be taken by the minute taker in order to.
Okay. Yep. No worries. Yes,
Thank you.
Councillor Branton.
I don't have the portfolios in front of me, but I can jump in with the committee ones, if that's all right.
Yes, I think if we could proceed on that basis initially, yes.
So the committee appointments that we've all agreed upon, we've got the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Reconciliation Action Plan Consultative Committee. Councillor Rassick and Borg are going to take that spot. The Brooklyn Industrial Precinct Strategy, Councillor Liu. Safety Roundtable, Councillor David. Sunshine Township Centre Partnership, Councillor David. Brimbank Arts Advisory Committee is going to be chaired by Councillor Dang. Representatives are going to be Councillor Papalia and Councillor Branton. Collective Action Committee, chaired by Councillor Virginia Tucker, sorry. And reps are Councillor Rassick and Dang. Brimbank Youth Council Chair is going to be Councillor Nguyen. Reps Councillor Papalia. St Albans Township Centre Partnership, Councillor Takos. Municipal Emergency Management Committee, also Councillor Takos. Social Justice Coalition, Councillor Takos with substitutes with Councillor Branton. Brimbank Disability Advisory Committee, the chair, chair will be Councillor Branton. Representatives will be Councillor Borg and Councillor Kerr. Heritage Advisory Committee, Councillor Lancashire. Melbourne Regional Landfill Community Reference Group, also Councillor Lancashire. Metropolitan Transport Forum, Councillor Liu. Australian Mayoral Aviation Councillor, Councillor Takos. Brimbank Community Fund is Councillor Dang and Councillor Nguyen. Brooklyn Community Representative Committee is Councillor Branton, Councillor David and Councillor Nguyen. Calder Highway Improvement Committee is Councillor Rassick. Metropolitan Local Government Waste Management Committee is Councillor Lancashire. I think that's all of them. Oh, and the Western Tourism Committee was Councillor Kerr.
Thank you, Councillor Branton. Yes, Councillor Lancashire.
Councillor.
Well, Mike.
Sorry, I've got the portfolios as well now.
Speaker, the microphone.
Sorry, Councillor Lancashire, I believe you're on mute. Forgive me, Madam Mayor, for interjecting.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was just offering to go through the portfolios, but I understand Councillor Branton might have them now, so I'll stop there. Thank you.
Yes, Councillor Branton.
The portfolio of Resilient Brimbank, Mayor Councillor Rasic has taken that. Brimbank Innovation is being shared by Councillor Nguyen and Councillor Lancashire, as well as Brimbank Prosperous. Councillor Lancashire and Councillor Nguyen are co-chairing. Brimbank People, Councillor Borg. Brimbank Proud, Councillor Kerr. Connecting Brimbank, Councillor Trung. Brimbank COVID-19 Recovery, Councillor Takos. Healthy Brimbank, Councillor Branton. Livable Brimbank, Councillor David. Sustainable Brimbank, Councillor Papalia. Vibrant Brimbank is Councillor Dane.
Madam Mayor, perhaps if I could make a suggestion that the minute taker shows on screen what we understand to currently be the motion under consideration by Council. Thank you.
Can we move it up a little bit so everyone can see? Yes. Is that the end of committee, or do we have any further? Yep, thank you. If you don't mind, we can slowly move it a little bit more.
So, Madam Mayor, do those names attached to those portfolios and committees accord with the understanding, your understanding and that of Council, or is there an amendment that our minute taker should be aware of?
Well, I think this matches the Councillor Branton list, so yes.
Thank you. With the exception then of those committee appointments and the portfolio appointments as now confirmed within the motion on screen, the remainder of the recommendation is as per the business papers and is what is shared on screen. So thank you for confirming that, Madam Mayor, that I think councillors are now all aware of the substantive motion that is currently under consideration that has been moved and seconded.
Okay, since we had a mover and a seconder, and we added this to it, I would like to invite any other councillors if they like to speak to the motion. Yes, Councillor Borg.
This is really exciting to see the allocation of the portfolios and the internal and external committees. As councillors, we are all keen to embark on these roles. I personally feel very excited to hold the people portfolio, about which I feel highly passionate. This report also refers to the Brimbank Community Recovery Grant programs. This program is being rolled out in 2 stages. Stage 1 round opened for applications between August and the 4th of October 2020. Stage 2 round will open in early 2020 to 21. It's interesting to note that 66 applications were submitted between August and October 2020, requesting a total of $703,415.48 in grant funding, with 300,000 originally available through the grants program. The stage 3 assessment process is also being undertaken, and it is quite a thorough process. This report also includes the Community Sports Infrastructure Stimulus Program, Round 2. Sports and Recreation Victoria invited Council to submit a funding application for sporting upgrades to Bon Thomas Reserve in Round 2 of the Community Sports Infrastructure Stimulus Program, after the project was not funded in Round 1. The Bon Thomas Reserve application focuses on funding to deliver new multi-purpose cricket nets, paths, network, car parks, and an upgrade to the oval irrigation. Applications close on the 2nd of March 2021, with the outcomes expected to be advised from May 2021 onwards. I am very, like everyone else, I am very much hoping for a successful outcome. I would like to thank the staff involved in this application and all the staff who worked very hard to make sure Council has shovel-ready projects to take every opportunity to apply for such funding.
Thank you, Councillor Borg. Would any other councillor like to speak to the motion? Yes, Councillor Lancashire.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and a very brief comment, but I think it's a very proud moment to see the vast list of community and public committees that our councillors are now being able to engage with. It's an honour and a privilege to be involved in that, and it involves a lot of work from staff and other people in the community, and particularly the portfolios, which are a new innovation coming from the last term, about how the councillors can help develop policies for this municipality. Having experience from the last term, this is quite an exciting and very enthusiastic welcome and start to all of our councillors and what we're doing for the community. So thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Lancashire. Would anyone else like to speak to the motion? No. I put motion to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. Thank you. I declare motion carried. We're going to go to 12.10. Councillor Code of Conduct 2021 with Mr. Dan Hogan.
Thank you again, Madam Mayor. The Local Government Act 2020 requires Council to adopt a Councillor Code of Conduct that incorporates the standards of conduct as prescribed in the regulations within 4 months of the general election. These prescribed standards set the behaviours of councillors, which can be enforced under the Code of Conduct, and the protocols for both informal and formal dispute resolution proceedings. The draft Code of Conduct 2021 at Attachment 1 was drafted by Maddox lawyers and incorporates the prescribed standards of conduct and the prescribed internal arbitration processes. Councillors will be aware that they're currently operating under a Code of Conduct, but this new code is significantly changed due to the high level of prescribed content derived from the Act and regulations. Whilst under normal circumstances, councillors would sign the code within chambers at this very same meeting, obviously we will need to make alternative arrangements. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Hogan. Councillors, are there any questions or points of clarification for Mr. Hogan? No. Do I have a mover of a motion? Thank you, Ms. J. Papalia. Do I have a seconder? Oh, I can't see. Thank you, Councillor Borg. I invite Councillor Papalia, mover of the motion, to speak.
I move the motion as per the shared screen. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Papalia. I invite Councillor Borg, seconder of motion, to speak.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The adoption of Councillor Code of Conduct 2021 is a legal requirement. This new Code of Conduct incorporates the standards of conduct as prescribed in the regulations, which was part of the directions paper. These prescribed standards set the behaviors of councillors, which can be enforced under the Code of Conduct and the protocols for both informal and formal dispute resolution proceedings. This new code is significantly different to the current code. I commend this to Council.
Thank you, Councillor Borg. Would any other councillor like to speak to the motion? No. I put motion to vote. All in favour, please raise your hand. Thank you. I declare motion carried. We're going to go to Strategic Advocacy and Engagement Report update, which is 12.1, from August 2020 to February 2021. I am a new elected mayor and a councillor, so I've been here since November, but council has been doing some great stuff. So I've got a few points here. The Strategic Advocacy and Engagement Report of the period of August 2020 to February 2021 provides an update on Council's ongoing work to advocate, engage and secure outcomes in good faith for the Brimbank community. Some key initiatives that have been pursued over this period have included Council launching its 19-point action plan for COVID response and recovery, August 2020. Council Council releasing its draft 2050 leading with vision strategy, August 2020. Brimbank key projects, including Sydenham Park, being contained in the launch of the Northwest City Deal Priorities paper, August 2020. Brimbank and Melton's Stop the Soil campaign, helping so far to prevent Ravenhall from receiving contaminated soil from the Bestgate Tunnel project. Brimbank hosting a federal and state budget forum in December with special guest Wade Noonan from Vomeda and Emma King from BCOSS. Since being elected as a mayor of Brimbank in November 2020, I'm particularly delighted to have continued leading council's advocacy approach and to have engaged and overseen some of the key following initiatives. 500,000 grant announced by Minister for Community Safety, Natalie Hutchins, MP for CCTV in Sunshine. Welcoming 2020 state budget funding, including 16.8 million for 2 intersection upgrades along the Melton Highway corridor in Brimbank, funding for organ pipes and Brimbank Park. Brimbank identified as a priority LGA for the state's big social housing build and Orange Story Door program. Over 2.2 million for 2 new pocket parks, Carey Street Sunshine and Leslie Street St Albans. Commencing regular engagement with local, state and federal parliamentarians to build support and understanding for our advocacy priorities. Consistent with the Transforming Brimbank agenda and the 19-point COVID action plan, I am delighted to report that Council now has successfully advocated and secured over 103.3 million in direct outcome for our community. And whilst this is a significant and welcome amount, there is no doubt that council and our community will need even more in the lead up to the state and federal budgets as our residents continue to respond, recover and rebuild from ongoing and involving COVID-19 pandemic. That is why this report seeks council's support to write to the state and federal treasurers, referring our community's ongoing need for investment around supporting health, well-being, socioeconomic, job and local business support in responses to COVID. This includes the 10 billion airport rail link via the Sunshine Priority Precinct, which now takes on even greater importance for Brimbank and our region's economic recovery, and is why Council is continuing to engage and advocate to government around the need for an optimal design outcome by Brimbank that unlocks the environment, economic and job potential for all across our whole municipality. Council's advocacy for investment and upgrade for Calder Freeway Corridor, as outlined in the 19-point action plan, seeks to maintain the momentum from the federal government's 50 million commitment in 2019 by seeking even further funding for both federal and state government for this vital infrastructure project for Brimbank and the growing West. In this regard, I would also like to take this opportunity to foreshadow a notice of motion in intent to move at the March Council meeting in relation to Council advocacy on the Calder Freeway. The report also contains a number of motions which Council will be seeking to lodge for consideration and debate at the proposed Australian Local Government Association National General Assembly in June 2021 around the key issue of COVID-19, jobs and skills, the need to extend JobKeeper and JobSeeker, climate change and environment, as well as the social and affordable business issues. The report also provides Council the opportunity to continue its advocacy around the proposed Western Inlet Freight Terminal. Whilst Council is supportive in principle of the project and its associated benefits of the region, Council is also very mindful of the potential noise, amenity and design implications it may have on our community. I commend this very comprehensive report to the Chamber and look forward to working with all of my Council colleagues, Council officers, parliamentarians and our community to continue advocating over my term. Now I would like to invite Mr. Dan Hogan to speak on strategic advocacy and engagement report update. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As printed within the business papers, the purpose of this report is to receive an update on strategic advocacy and engagement, endorse notices of motion for submission to the Australian Local Government Association, endorse action related to the proposed Western Intermodal Freight Terminal. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Hogan. Councillors, are there any questions or points of clarification for Director Hogan? No. Is there a mover of a motion? Thank you, Councillor Tarkos. Is there a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Lancashire. I invite Councillor Tarkos, mover of the motion, to speak.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Having been on the advocacy portfolio for the last few years, it's something I've been really passionate about, and it's really great to see some investment coming across to our 7 schools, the MAR project, funding towards the Western Rail Plan, money to redevelop Sunshine Law Courts and Justice Precinct, the much needed upgrades for the Melton Highway and Sunshine Avenue intersections getting fixed up, and funding towards upgrading Organ Pipes and Brimbank Park. I never thought I'd see the day where we get some funding for those great parks, but that's great news. But there is still a lot more funding needed to achieve our transformation Brimbank advocacy agenda. I'd like to see a bit more fairness in our advocacy around investment in the Contamination Task Force, completion of the Upper Stony Creek Rehabilitation Project. So in essence, what I'm saying is that more investment needs to be done in environmental equity in our community, because we need to make it clear to the government that we are not a destination for Victoria's waste and rubbish. We are a community in transformation. We want positive investment, but we also want rehabilitation. And we have shown that we can rehabilitate landfills. If you look at Taylor's Creek, that's an example. Our community deserves these kinds of projects as well. So I hope in your role in advocacy, which I'm sure you'll do a fantastic job, and with the COVID investment as well, that we can transform our community into something that we can all be proud of. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Takos. That is great. We're looking forward to transforming Brimbank together. I invite Councillor Lancashire, seconder of the motion, to speak.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I would certainly like to reiterate the comments made by Councillor Takos. To hear that we've received as a council over $100 million in grants and subsidies is quite an incredible feat, and congratulations to the councillors, the mayor, and the enormous hard work of the staff that has gone into all of those submissions. That is fantastic for our community. So a very simple statement, but well done, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lancashire. Would any other councillor like to speak to the motion? Thank you, Councillor Brenton. Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to quickly say that we have identified there's quite a few gaps in the types of people and age groups and things that were engaged with that work. And it's a conversation that we're having ongoing to try to work out how do we engage more with the people who don't typically engage.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you, Councillor Branton. Would any other councillor like to speak to the motion? Yes, Councillor Nguyen.
Yeah, I would like to say, it's super important that Brimbank continues to advocate for more funding. And in addition to that, in addition to the funding, making sure that we advocate for outcomes that benefit our community in terms of if we're building the Melbourne airport, making sure we're employing people locally, making sure that the environment is protected as well. So I really like to commend the council and the council staff, and let's keep putting Brimbank on the agenda.
Thank you, Councillor Nguyen. Anyone else? I would like to put motion to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. Thank you. I declare motion carried. So we'll go 12.12, Community Engagement Policy with Ms. Lynell Dumble. Thank you, Lynell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This report presents Council with an overview of the submissions received on the draft Community Engagement Policy, and for Council to consider the adoption of the final draft Community Engagement Policy at Attachment 1. Following Council's endorsement at the Ordinary Council meeting on the 15th of December 2020, the draft policy was released for community and stakeholder consultation for a period of 4 weeks from the 21st of December to the 17th of January 2021. The Local Government Act 2020 requires Council to adopt a community engagement policy on or before the 1st of March 2021. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lynell Dumble. I would like to ask councillors, are there any questions or points of clarifications? Yes, Councillor Nguyen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Sir, I'm aware that the consultation process was a bit there was a timeline due and everything, but in the future, when's the next review for this community engagement policy?
Thank you, Councillor Nguyen, through the chair. The policy proposes that it is reviewed every 2 years, Councillor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Nguyen. Are there any more questions or points of clarification? No. Do I have a motion? Is there a mover of a motion? Thank you, Councillor Bork. Is there a seconder? Is there a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Papalia. I invite Councillor Borg, mover of the motion, to speak.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First of all, I would like to move the motion as per shared screen.
Thank you, Councillor Borg. I invite. Okay.
Sorry, I was going to continue to speak to it. If
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
All right. Brimbank City Council is committed to genuine and best practice community engagement to enable meaningful and inclusive opportunities for community to be involved and informed decision-making processes. Community consultation about the draft policy was conducted from the 21st of December to the 17th of January. The feedback received through the community showed strong support for a policy that demonstrates guidance towards genuine engagement and best practices to encourage community participation and involvement in council's decision making. A limitation of this consultation was that it was mainly done through a digital mechanisms or platforms due to the COVID-19 restrictions. Considering the demographics in Brimbank and the fact that a significant number of people are not digital literate, many members of the community have missed out on this consultation. However, Council is taking this into account and is committed to diversify community consultations to cater for everyone, including people of non-English speaking background, as well as those who who are not digital literate. I commend this report to Council.
Thank you, Councillor Borg. I invite Councillor Papalia, seconder of motion, to speak.
Thank you. And just to second what Councillor Borg has said in relation to the diversity in our community and making sure that we can engage all of our community in our decision making. It is obviously one of the most important things about all projects and different things that we put forward. So hoping to be able to expand that reach over the next 4 years. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Papalia. Would any other councillor like to speak to the motion? Yes, Councillor Lancashire.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We certainly understand that there was a state government imperative to get this engagement policy prepared within a tight timeline. It certainly, I think, put the staff under a lot of pressure to process this and communicate with the public over the Christmas break, and to get feedback on this was a very difficult task, and also at a time when there's no actual print media being circulated within Brimbank, as would have normally probably been part of such a consultation process. So very difficult job for the staff. Well done, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Lancashire. I've seen Councillor David's hand up. Can you unmute?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just echo those words that said by all the other spoken councillors. Look, I think we live in a modern life in a way of quick fix. On today's perhaps happening with senior citizens and hundreds of communities that we have in our city, Madam Mayor. In years gone by, they used to have what we call hard copies sent to them home to fill and send back to council. Today it's all online. Some of those communities, especially now with COVID-19, they suffer in silence, as they say, because they don't know where to door knock. That's what it is. And then you look at some experts at today's technologies and such, they're even demanding offices, demanding even the CEO and others to have meetings, or perhaps asking the councillors to perhaps don't support the office's report. I think this has to stop somehow. and we have to try and bring even Stevens type of lines. And as I said, a lot of communities are suffering, and the reason behind it, they haven't got anybody to help them as such. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor David. Councillor Branton, did you want to still?
Yep, thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to quickly say, everyone's probably guessed I got a little confused. To the motion I spoke previously of 12.11, I meant to say that to 12.12 about missing some people in the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Branton. Anyone else wants to speak to? Yes, Councillor Tarkos.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to say that it was the response that received was 27 submissions out of such a large municipality. So disappointing, but I understand that we are under constraints with time, but this is what underpins our whole council. Is the way we engage with our community is fundamental to everything we do. So the integrity, accountability, responsiveness are the key principles that should underpin everything we do. And we should consider co-designing that with our community as well, because they have knowledge, they are leaders as well. So working with them to promote engagement is fundamental. We need more community panels, we need more consultative committees, working groups and advisory groups to ensure that the community is invested in engagement and how we shape our community. Youth councils are a great start. Mentoring programs for women have proven to be very successful here in our council, as well as alumni leadership programs. The strengthening of those programs will only improve the skills of our community. Only recently, I had a community group from a different culture say, why can't we be involved in the service where we call out vulnerable community members in our language? Why can't we be trained up to do something like that? I did send a request through, but we need more programs where we can genuinely engage with, especially people going through COVID and who may need support, or who might be trying to organise aged care packages. This is another area where our community is really suffering a lot. Having that person at the end of, the council is the first place that people genuinely call to get support. Having people on call that can provide that support is vitally important. So I commend this report, even though we didn't get a great response. I look forward to it going out more extensively the next time. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Tarkos. Would any other councillor like to speak to the motion? No. Let's put motion to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. Thank you. I declare this motion carried. We're going to go to 12.13, St Albans Leisure Centre Development, naming process with Mr. Dan Hogan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. After a 4-week community consultation period during August 2020, Council received 314 submissions to name Council's upcoming redeveloped St Albans Leisure Centre facility. A community committee shortlisted 256 unique names and shortlisted 4 for the consideration of Council. At Ordinary Council meeting 15 September 2020, Council resolved Brimbank Aquatic and Wellness Centre as the official proposed name for the redeveloped St Albans Leisure Centre facility. Council is now required by Geographic Names Victoria to undertake a community engagement process to receive any objections to the proposed name. Any valid objections received must subsequently be considered by Council in order to reject or endorse the name for final submission to Geographic Names Victoria for the purpose of legal confirmation. The officer's recommendation reflects the necessary due process to progress the naming of the redeveloped St Albans Leisure facility. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillors, are there any questions or points of clarification for Director Hogan? Yes, Councillor Tarkos.
Sorry, my question to Director Dan Hogan is, how will this be assessed once it goes out to a 45-day consultation if there's objections, Director Hogan?
Through the chair, thank you for the question, Councillor Tarkos. A report will return to Council on the 20th of April 2021, which will list the valid objections received, officers' comments against that for the deliberation of Council. So it will return to Council.
Thank you. Sorry. Anyone else? No, is there a mover of the motion? Thank you, Council. Thank you, Councillor Papalia. Is there a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Kerr. I invite Councillor Papalia, mover of the motion, to speak.
I move the motion as per the shared screen. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Papalia. I invite Councillor Kerr, seconder of motion, to speak.
I also move the motion as per the shared screen. Thank you.
Thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak to the motion? No, I put motion to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. Thank you. I declare this motion carried. We'll go to 12.14, Green Gully Reserve Northern Precincts Enhancement Plan Implementation, February 2021, update with Mr. Neil Whiteside.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. At the Ordinary Council meeting on the 21st of July 2020, Council considered a report on the outcomes of the community consultation on the draft Green Gully Reserve Northern Precinct Enhancement Plan, and was presented a final draft enhancement plan for consideration for approval. Council resolved to adopt the final draft enhancement plan and subsequently allocated funds as part of the 2021 annual budget to commence implementation. The purpose of this report is for Council to receive an update on the implementation of the Green Gully Reserve Northern Precinct Enhancement Plan. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Neil Whiteside. Councillors, are there any questions or points of clarification for Director? Yes, Councillor Branton.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks for putting this together, Neil. I've got a question about there's a native grassland offset that's required. There's a parcel of grassland that's being destroyed for the creation of the sports ground. I just wanted to know, it said in it that a ministerial exemption is required because only one appropriate offset was found in the area. Why would a ministerial exemption be required if there's just one grassland available for offset?
So just based on the Local Government Act, Councillor Branton, there is a requirement to normally publicly tender works over the certain threshold, being 200,000. So in a normal situation, you would tender that. But if there's only one available supply, in this case, one offset site, then it's not possible to do that. Therefore, we need to apply for a ministerial exemption from the Minister for Local Government. Thank you.
So as in usually it would be tendered to private land?
So if there were multiple sites that could actually provide the offset sites, we would then go to a normal tender process. But given that's not possible, based on the work undertaken by our ecology consultant, only one site's identified for the offset, so therefore Council is required to seek a ministerial exemption.
Okay, I was just worried that it might be a size thing, that it was a strange thing where we weren't going to get as much grassland. Yeah, thanks, Neil.
Thank you, Councillor Branton. Councillors, are there any other questions or points of clarification? No. Is there a mover of a motion? Thank you, Councillor Nguyen. Is there a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Lancashire. I invite Councillor Nguyen, mover of the motion, to speak.
I would just like to move the motion as per office papers.
Thank you, Councillor Nguyen. I invite Councillor Lancashire, seconder of motion, to speak.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, this is certainly a fantastic project for our community of the Oval Pavilion, car parking and landscaping that will occur in that area. A lot of work has been done by our staff on that, and thank you for that work. We are moving into the design consultant being appointed as part of that process. That's my understanding. And it will be very exciting, I think, for the community and for councillors to see this yet another great facility added to this municipality, which will serve in particular our sporting community and give some confidence, hopefully, to our younger generation in particular in getting back into sport after COVID, by council showing its progress in pushing ahead with this project. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Lancashire. Would any other councillor like to speak to the motion? Yes, Councillor David.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, as Councillor Lancashire said, what an exciting type of area would be Green Gully. Every year, there's not so much the last 2 or 3 years, but migration and different migrants today. We've got different communities. They call in sport at all times, any sport indeed. And I think in due course, we're going to see a beautiful type of stadium there and a number of other type of facilities there for sport lovers and of course, people in sport supporters to see. And congratulations to Neil and his team for coming up with this report before us tonight. I think it's a wonderful initiative. Yeah, well done.
Thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak to the motion? Okay, I put motion to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. Thank you. I declare this motion carried. We're going to go to 12.15, draft submission to Infrastructure Victoria's draft 30-year infrastructure strategy with Mr. Neil Whiteside.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Infrastructure Victoria has released its draft 30-year infrastructure strategy and have invited all Victorians to have their say. The community consultation period closes on the 26th of February this year. Council officers have drafted a submission in line with relevant council policies and strategies, providing a response to the draft strategy recommendations and initiatives. The purpose of this report is for council to consider approval of the draft submission to Infrastructure Victoria's draft 30-year infrastructure strategy, which is an attachment 1 to the report. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Neil Whiteside. Councillors, are there any questions or points of clarification for Director? No. Okay. Is there a mover of a motion? Thank you, Councillor Dan. Is there a seconder? Is there? Thank you, Councillor David. I invite Councillor Deng, mover of the motion, to speak.
I wish to move the motion per the share screens. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Deng. I invite Councillor David, seconder of motion, to speak. Can you, your sound? Thank you.
No, I'm okay. I'm done.
Thank you, Councillor David. Would any other councillor like to speak to the motion? No. I put motion to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. Thank you. I declare motion carried. So we're going to go to motion 12.6, contract number 212911, provision of landfill services with Mr. Neil Whiteside. Yes, got a Helen Morrissey, Chief Executive. Yes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and councillors. As per my statement at the commencement of this evening's meeting, I declare a general conflict of interest in accordance with the Brimbank governance rules and request that the host remove me from the council meeting for the duration of the item.
Thank you, Madam CEO. So she's. I just would like to. I would like to seek some advice on this one. Can I have that for a second? Can you disconnect me, please?
Madam Mayor, you're on mute.
I'm sorry about that. I didn't realize. I just said we're going to 12.16, contract number 212911, provision of landfill services with Mr. Neil Whiteside.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. At the Ordinary Council meeting on the 25th of June 2019, Council resolved to advise the Metropolitan Waste and Resource Recovery Group that it will participate in its collective procurement process on behalf of participating councils for landfill services. The Metropolitan Waste and Resource Recovery Group conducted a tender process for landfill services in 2020, given that the current landfill services contracts are due to conclude on the 30th of March this year. The purpose of this report is to present to Council the outcomes of the tender evaluation for contract number 21/2911, provision of landfill services, and seek Council's consideration to award the contract. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Neil Whiteside. I would like to ask, Councillor Lancashire.
Oh, sorry, Madam Mayor, I might have jumped in a little soon.
That's all right.
I thought there was an amended recommendation being drafted in relation to this item, and if so, I would like to move that. If that could be put up on the screen, please.
Yeah. Do we have that? And yes, Councillor Lancashire, would you like to?
Yes, just if I could clarify, Madam Mayor, is that in accordance with the discussions that have occurred?
I'm waiting.
Sorry?
Sorry, maybe Madam Mayor, if I can provide some clarity.
Yeah.
Councillor Lancashire, there are a couple of options. There are option to obviously amend well, not amend, essentially put a motion that could be an amended version of the officer recommendation. Alternatively, I understand there was some consideration about possible deferral of this item. So Councillor Lancashire, I'm not sure which approach the council would like to take and what you'd like to move at this stage.
Yes, Councillor Lancashire.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In that case, I would like to move an amended motion that this matter be deferred for future consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lancashire. Do we have a seconder to that motion? Yes, Councillor Liu.
I'll second that motion. Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Liu. I invite Councillor Mover of the motion to speak to that.
Madam Mayor, we can't debate this. It's deferred. It has to be put to the vote now, please.
Okay, just 1 second. Because I put amended motion to the vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. I declare this motion carried, so we will defer this until further notice. Thank you all. We're going to go now to 12.17, Deer Park Rail Corridor Level Crossing Removal Projects, February 2021 update with Mr. Neil Whiteside. And if we haven't already, we can bring, I think, Mr. CEO, Ms. CEO back in.
Okay, Madam Mayor, I'll proceed introducing, given that the CEO is back at the meeting.
Thank you.
At the Ordinary Council meeting on the 15th of September last year, an update on the Deer Park Rail Corridor Level Crossing Removal Projects was presented to Council, and Council resolved to write to the Minister for Transport Infrastructure, seeking a response to a number of issues relating to the level crossing removal projects. Council also resolved to receive a further update upon a receipt of a response from the state government. Council received a response from the level crossing removal projects team in late January this year, and further correspondence was also received from the Minister for Planning in early February this month in relation to the level crossing removal projects both at Fitzgerald Road in Ardeer and Robertson's Road in Deer Park. The purpose of this report is to provide Council a further update on the Deer Park Rail Corridor level crossing removal projects, including the receipt of correspondence from the level crossing removal projects team and the Minister for Planning, and consider further advocacy to the state government on a number of issues of concern. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Neil Whiteside. Councillors, are there any questions or points of clarification for Director? No? Okay. Is there a mover of a motion? Thank you, Councillor Takos. Is there a second?
Madam Mayor, I just wanted to say that I would like to move the officer recommendation, but with the following additions, which will be shown on the shared screen, if that's possible. Thank you, Madam Mayor. So my additions to the officer recommendation are highlighted in red and in capitalised writing. I'm happy to read them out. That the community preference is to retain the council land for use as public open space, not a road reserve. That further publishing of design options, including details of all analysis and evaluation completed for all design options, and that community consultation about them in the event the land is compulsory acquired before further community consultation occurs, council will seek. And in the end, I won't go through them all, Madam Mayor, but it is highlighted on the screen as those major issues that the community felt was impacted by this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Takos. So was that, yes, Councillor David?
Madam Mayor, I thought we discussed that last time at a briefing meeting where we're told by our director that the contract has been taken. I like what I heard from Councillor Takos, but I mentioned the word the horse has bolted last time, and I think we had that repeated again. And if the contract has been taken, it's a state government. We cannot stop the state government. The only thing we can do now is to try and make sure we get that bridge up as soon as possible, but only the government can take over the maintenance of it, because the maintenance, if they come back to council, it'd be tremendous, very, very expensive to maintain it. So if we can manage to do that through our directors and our officers to try and work with the government to give us that attitude, it'd be a win-win situation for us. That's one. The rest of it, the residents wanted that level crossing up and going yesterday. It's about time. They've been suffering for a long time. I think we have to try and get as much as possible, even from the land point of view. The compulsory acquisition, maybe we can try and get a few more dollars from them. And if we can do that, I think that's what we can do for the city. That's my opinion.
Councillor David, just to clarify, you second of the motion?
Sorry?
We haven't had anyone seconding motion, so I would just, because
I did. I said I seconded.
Okay, just to clarify that. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor David. I invite Councillor Takos, mover of the motion, to speak. Do you have anything?
Yeah, Madam Mayor, I'm not disagreeing with anything that Councillor David is saying, because I support the officer recommendation. What I'm doing is just building into it some of the, I guess, the whole process, as Councillor David said, was a fait accompli in that we don't have any say. Yet our community will still be impacted, and what is raised in those red capitals are the concerns that the community has, which are quite valid. That if we can negotiate for something better, you know, and also have this project undertaken, I think that's a win-win for our community. And I'm not against the project at all. This is just to enhance what the officer recommendation is. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tarkos. I invite Councillor David second of a motion to speak.
Madam Mayor, I have said what I wanted to say. Yes, it's, as I said, I support what Councillor Tarkos just said, but I think the only thing we can do is to try and get a good group and more or less get this government to understand that we're losing a very valuable land and open space. And indeed, we have to have something back given to us. And the only thing we can have back, I think, is a few more dollars and maybe the maintenance, which in my opinion would be the most important thing for the city. Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor David. Would any other councillor like to speak to the motion? Yes, Councillor Branton.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to thank Director Whiteside for giving me a lot of extra information and talking through all of this in a special briefing we had previously, because a lot of councillors did show a lot of concern for this is going to severely impact a green open space that we have that includes some low quality grassland, but grassland nonetheless that's still serving a niche. And I think a lot of us are really disappointed that so quickly we're going to be losing a green open space that is very valued by the locals. And we're really disappointed that the feedback and the questions that the greater authorities have received came a bit late. You know, late January, early February is a bit late for us to be comfortable with it, but we're really determined now to try to get the best outcomes. In terms of landscaping, that's definitely not going to be, we don't want to see garden beds. We would like to see a rehabilitation of some grassland and appropriate trees for that. And it gives us an opportunity to link up a lot more bike paths. There's some paths that are going, well, we're advocating for some paths that will join up that section with Deer Park Station, which currently there's no shared paths at all there, so they can't do that. So there's some upsides, and we're going to keep fighting for the best outcome we can get. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Branton. Would any other councillor like to speak to the motion? Thank you. Yes, Councillor Dan.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I understand that there are some impact that cause the community concerns, like the green space. But I think the safety of the community is the first priority that we need to think of. And also the council officer have done a lot of work with the government. And what the amendment motion of the Councillor Tarkos have some good points, so I support her amendment motion. So that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Dang. Anyone else wants to speak? Yes, Councillor Newman.
Yeah, I think obviously it's super important that we prioritize the safety of our residents, and that includes the removal of these level crossings. But I just want to I think most of the councils here are super disappointed that we're losing a bit of open space, and it's impacting our open spaces. And I think if the state government is rolling out a part, I think the least we can do as council is to advocate to make sure we are duly compensated. And it's just as a reminder for us to with the remaining green spaces that we have left, to look after them in case something like this happens again, and making sure the community is properly consulted. And yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Newman. Anyone else that wants to speak to that? Okay, no, we're gonna put. I just want to clarify: was this amendment motion? Because you didn't mention. You just said you wanted to add a few things.
It was an added word.
It was just added. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Just wanted to clarify that as well, because the Councillor Dan mentioned. We can now go to vote. I put motion to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands.
Sorry, what are we voting for? The amendment or the?
No, we
the
don't have
motion?
amendment. That was just the addition, I believe. Yeah. Okay. All in favour, please raise your hands. Thank you. I declare this motion carried. So now we're going to go to item 13, notice of motion. There are 6 notices of motion for consideration. Councillors, I remind you that the notice of motion must be moved as printed in the papers, and only if seconded can an amendment be moved. So I've got 13.1, parks and playgrounds. Councillor Kerr. Councillor Kerr, would you like to?
Yes, so currently in Brimbank, there are no fully gated kids playgrounds. I ask that we include the following items in the review of Council's Creating Better Parks Plan. Additional all abilities playgrounds across Brimbank. These need to be fully fenced and the equipment safe for children of all abilities. We have an obligation to the community to support families and children with a disability. I would like to see fully functional and enclosed playgrounds in every ward. Even though I was elected for Taylor's ward, I see that there's a gap in this space in all wards in Brimbank. And it is really important for families with kids with disabilities to have the ability to take their child to a park locally. And at this stage, they cannot. I would like to also see the inclusion of outdoor exercise equipment for the ageing population. It's important that residents have access to outdoor facilities like bocce courts or functional parks and meeting points in the community. I would also like to see the inclusion to include shaded walking paths and playground areas. I would also like to see, some parks that I can distinguish in my ward. For example, Odessa Avenue Reserve, which happens to lie between Killardown Secondary College and Killarviews Primary School. That park is virtually not used by anyone in the community, and I would like to see parks of that nature revitalised for the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kerr. Is there a seconder of the motion? Yes, Councillor Lancashire.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I second the motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Councillor Nguyen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to make an amendment to add something to Councillor Kerr's notice of motion. If we could share the screen, or if not, I'd just like to add to Part D to include reviewing the option on increasing the focus on sun protection measures, including shade sites and shaded walking paths, just making it more, just provide more sun protection options to Councillor Kerr's notice of motion in that part.
Thank you, Councillor Nguyen. So we're going to go to vote now for amendment motion. All in favour, please raise your hands. Well, I'm just going to ask any other councillor if they would, I'm so sorry, if they would like to speak to amended motion or to the motion. Yes, Councillor Liu.
Madam Mayor, I second the
Chairman has to second it, the amendment, Madam Mayor.
I second that one, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Anyone else wants to speak to it? Yes, Councillor Lancashire.
Just as a general comment that in speaking to it, that when I first got on council, it was a policy that ran back through the administrators to remove fencing from parks and sporting areas. I always didn't agree with that at the time. I thought there is places where you should have fencing and this is a particularly noteworthy reason for doing so. You obviously have fencing around areas where you can run dogs free as well. Some sporting facilities are well served if they can be fenced and charged for entry. So there's a variety of reasons for doing all of these things. And I think Councillor Kerr's motion with the amendment of Councillor Nguyen is well targeted. So thank you to both of you for pushing this amendment and this notice of motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Langshire. Councillor Borg, you wanted to say something.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I also would like to echo my previous councillors' comments. Parks and playgrounds play a significant role in health and well-being. It is always important to look for better ways to maximize the use of these facilities, whether it is increasing access to outdoor exercise equipment or other sporting infrastructure, or increasing the focus on shaded walking paths. The additional of all abilities playgrounds across Brimbank is also welcomed. It is important to continue to make sure that children with special needs have the resources to play and to join in the fun. I do support this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Borg. Would anyone else like to speak to this motion? Yes, Councillor Takos.
For the amended motion and the original motion moved by Councillor Kerr, I think this is something that a lot of parents have had continuous anxiety about, where they are not able to take their children to playgrounds that may be surrounded by water or other risks. It does not make it easy for parents, and there's not a lot of choices as well. So the other thing that I wanted to add is that there are groups that are looking to collaborate with council, like for play equipment, for all ability type, playgrounds. So this is a great opportunity for our community to become a leader in inclusive parks. I commend Councillor Kerr for this great idea, and it will help so many families. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Takos. Does anyone else? Yes, Councillor Sam. Can you unmute? Unmute.
Just to clarify, this is not an amendment. I think Councillor Nguyen added to the support. Is that what it is? Or yes, so we haven't got an amendment. We've got the original motion put forward by.
Can I ask Minute Taker to share to the screen what was actually? Yes, please. Okay,
that's beautiful. That's another to the report there. Yeah, to the motion put forward by Councillor Kerr. Yes, I like to support all that as well, Madam Mayor. And down west, we've got one small little pocket that they've got sporting equipment in, and you want to see not only young kids and teenagers using it, but grown-up people as well. They're using the equipment there, which is that's fantastic to see. It's good for people to maneuver around, and walkers, especially walkers, they stop to and they're just doing a bit of exercise. It's been an extremely good thing to do, and I support that. Extremely good. Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor David. Does anyone else wants to speak to the amendment motion or to the motion? Okay, we're going to take the motion to vote. First, we're going to take amended motion to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. Thank you. I declare amended motion carried. We have to vote on the motion. So can everyone please vote on the motion? All in favour, please raise your hands. Thank you. I declare this motion carried. Thank you. We're going to go to 13.2, compliance at EPA licensed sites. This would be Councillor Takos. Thank you, Councillor Takos.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to move the motion as per the shared screen. I'm not going to read through it, Madam Mayor, but it's basically outlined there in those 3 points.
Thank you, Councillor Takos. Is there a seconder of the motion? Yes, Councillor Nguyen? You second that? Can you put your...
Yes.
Thank
I second
you.
the motion.
Thank you. I invite Councillor Tarkos, mover of motion, to speak.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Over a number of weeks and months now, the community members have raised the issue of noise and smell impacting their lives across Brimbank. Whether it's unbearable odour from the ongoing fire at Kelber landfill, putrid smell associated with the processing of animals and animal products in Brooklyn, odour from putrescible waste being processed, or noise from industry, there is often one name that keeps appearing in the advice I receive about the issue. The site is operating under an EPA licence. I ask, how is it that the EPA licensed sites can continue to have such an ongoing detrimental impact on the daily lives of our residents? How is it that monitoring, controls and compliance measures of our state's Environmental Protection Authority can be failing to protect our community? How is it that after repeated calls to action, the only response seems to be inaction? Councillors, it's time that the EPA take a robust look at all their licenses sites in our city. Councillors, it's time the EPA take responsibility for their legislated role, and that is to protect our community. It's time for the EPA to rebuild confidence with our community by doing their job in protecting the environment and our residents as a priority. Therefore, I commend this notice of motion to you. I commend this call for an audit of all EPA licensed sites to you. And as part of this, I call on the EPA to engage in a meaningful way with our community, to hear their concerns, to understand the impacts, and to act on those concerns as they are charged to do. Councillors, I ask you to support this notice of motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tarkos. I invite Councillor Nguyen, seconder of motion, to speak.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I speak in support of Councillor Tarkos' notice of motion, and I thank her for raising this important issue in the chamber. Like, I haven't been a council for long, but I know it's a very important issue in our community. Like, I've been contacted by so many residents who are concerned about the odour issues, especially associated with the Asco Noble factory in Sunshine North. People reporting like health and safety issues, such as like taking their asthma, air out their house, over the windows, even like the workers and everything. Like, residents have been regularly reporting, but still, like, so many people are frustrated with the apparent lack of action by the EPA. And I know it's like kind of frustrating because, like, you know, investigations are time consuming, complex, but like it does little to alleviate like the angst that the community is experiencing. And over recent weeks, it's not just Asco Noble and Sunshine North, there's been other sites in Brimbank as well, regarding noise and odour, like the landfills in, you know, Elvin Kelber, like the meat factory processing in Brooklyn, like, and the license and the regulation, it sits with the EPA, not with the council. But regardless of this, like, the community is looking to us as representatives and councillors to advocate on their behalf, to call for real action and holding, you know, companies accountable to resolve this like ongoing, like, unpleasant issue of odour stuff for our residents. So, and it just appears like, you know, the current EPA, their actions doesn't appear to be working. So, you know, thank you, Councillor Tarkos, for calling for a more strategic and robust approach to this issue by the EPA. And, you know, odours, it goes everywhere. There's no borders to this, you know, and, you know, I also support the call for our neighbouring cities and also different forms of government in this important advocacy effort. So, the EPA has the powers, and it's time the EPA gets its act together, being more comprehensive and robustly responding to the concerns of our impacted community. I support Councillor Tarkos' motion, and I urge other councillors to do the same.
Thank you, Councillor Nguyen. Would any other councillor like to speak to the motion? No? Okay, we put motion to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. Thank you. I declare this motion carried. We're going to go 13.3 River Valley Walkway, pedestrian bridge. Councillor Liu.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move the walkway pedestrian bridge in North Sunshine as per share screen.
Thank you, Councillor Lu. Is there a seconder of the motion?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to add just one point as well to Councillor Lu's notice of motion. Thank you.
Yep.
That council officers prepare an estimate cost analysis for the ongoing maintenance of the bridge.
Thank you, Councillor Takos. I was asking, is there is a second of the motion?
Yes.
Yes, Councillor David. Thank you. I'd like, would any other?
Mayor? Yeah.
Yes.
I just say I second it.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor David. Would any other councillors like to speak to the motion?
Yes, I would, Madam Mayor. It's what Councillor Lu brought forward is something that we brought before us going back maybe 20 years ago. Moonee Valley doesn't agree somehow, and we want them to come on board. Someone has to speak to them because this is going to shorten the distance between us and them. It's you know, you go around the Ballarat roads and you know, it's a lot shorter if we just make a bridge across the road, maybe down the South Road. It's many ways we can have access to, or Canning Street, one of those streets across the road. I think it makes sense, and we should sort of approach Moonee Valley again to see if we can bring them on board and do something which it'd be well worth it for both councils, both municipalities. I think it's a great little motion, and I support it.
Sorry about that. I had my cat coming this way. I just have to, we have to go back and get Councillor Takos to move amendment again because Councillor David, you amended before he seconded. So I'm sorry for that. We'll just shortly have to go back to that, Councillor Takos.
That council prepare an estimate cost analysis report for the ongoing maintenance of the bridge.
Thank you, Councillor Takos.
I'll second it.
Again, Madam Mayor, it's not an amendment, it's another type of wording onto that. Yeah. If Councillor Lu accepts that, yeah, I think that's okay.
Do I have a seconder for her amendment, please?
I don't think it's an amendment, Madam Mayor.
I think it was amendment.
Amendment, yes.
It is, yeah.
It's an added onto the report, onto the notice of motion.
It was amendment because it was lodged.
Yes,
and yeah, so do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Lancashire. I invite I invite Councillor Takos to speak to the motion if she's got anything else to say to it.
I don't really want to add anything further than what Councillor David and Councillor Lu has said, and fully support that this request for the bridge to be finalised so that our community benefits from it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Takos. Yes, Councillor Lu.
I have to say something relating to the motion, Madam Mayor. May I proceed?
Yeah.
Madam Mayor, in transforming and connecting Brimbank, a proposal and commitment was of constructing the walkway bridge across the Melbourne River by the third party in Sunshine North at no cost to Brimbank City Council. The bridge itself enhanced connectivities of Brimbank and accessibility to the Melbourne River bike trail on the other side. With the bridge crossing both boundaries, Brimbank and Melbourne Valley City Council, and it also falls on Park Victoria, there are some discrepancies as to who would take ownership of the bridge and its ongoing maintenance. Without actual ownership of the bridge, the planning application and the bridge development cannot proceed, leaving our residents at a disadvantaged position until it's resolved. Madam Mayor, Councillor, the bridge promotes connectivities, health and well-being, and encourage residents to walk and cycle and as an alternative mode of transport. Councillor, this motion is to address current issues and community concern. And it projects an estimate cost for ongoing maintenance in the aim of delivering a favourable resolution for Brimbank community. Council, I seek your support for this motion in benefit of our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Liu. Would anyone else like to speak to the motion? Yes, Councillor Lancashire.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I seconded the motion and happy to support Councillor Liu's notice of motion, and thank you for that, and the addition by Councillor Tarkos. This is not a cost to council. However, access between the municipalities across the Maribyrnong River and the ability to extend walking trails is all the things Councillor Liu is suggesting. It's a healthy thing to do. It's in an area of isolation. It's very much a win-win for the community, right from its very proposal to now pushing to see that this happens is what a good piece of advocacy for us to do. So thank you to those pushing for this. It's a good thing. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Lancashire. Would anyone else like to speak to the motion? No? Okay, we're going to put motion to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. Beautiful. We've got this motion carried. Thank you. Councillors, I wish to lodge 3 notices of motion at this meeting. I know that under the section 2711 of the Brimbank governance rules, that I must now vacate the chair and that the Deputy Mayor will now assume the chair for the duration of the items. Thank you, Councillor Nguyen. You are now chair of this meeting.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So the next notice of motion is notice of motion 13.4, Taylor's Road upgrade. Councillors, are there any questions or points of clarification for this notice of motion?
Okay.
Okay.
1 second,
right.
sorry.
Okay.
Okay, I do have a Taylor's Road upgrade. It's can we have a screen shared? So it's per shared screen. So it's just to write to Member of Parliament, the Han Marlene Carews, Member to Koroit, so Natalie Hutchins, Member for Sydenham, the Han Victoria, sorry.
So Councillor Isaac, would you like to move your motion?
Yes, I'm moving my motion right now. Sorry, I'm so excited about it.
Mm-hmm.
So as I said, as per shared screen.
Is there a seconder of the motion? Councillor Kerr. Okay, so I invite Councillor Isaac to speak on the motion.
Okay. All right, let me just, I think that this part of Taylor's Road, unlike the other side of the Taylor's Road, is an urgent need of upgrade. The section of Taylor's Road between Kings Road and Watervale Boulevard is urgent need of upgrade, as I said, because we don't have double lanes. It's congestion of traffic, especially off and off the peak, causing delays for the communities in Brimbank. Council should support this proposed decision in order to reduce congestion and improve traffic flow along the Taylor's Road.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor. So, Councillor Kerr, would you like
I just want to add that I'm requesting the funding upgrade of Taylor's Road between Kings Road and Watervale Boulevard. So everyone knows that that's part of it, which is not a big part.
Thank you for the clarification, Councillor Isaac. Kerr, I now invite Councillor Kerr to speak for the motion.
Look, I'm really glad that Madam Mayor has brought up this motion, because this is an issue that's very dear to my heart, having driven this road day in, day out for 10 years. And I've been lobbying and advocating for the, expansion of this road for the last 5 years. It's a bottleneck, it's dangerous, it's substandard. The West is continuously neglected when it comes to these large projects. And I fully support lobbying state government for the funding to have this project taken off. I mean, we definitely need it. I've seen multiple accidents at this site. I'm not sure how many more lives need to be lost in this section of the road, and how many countless hours people need to sit in traffic. We've got developments going all the way through Caroline Springs up to Deanside and Plumpton. And, the road just can't take the amount of usage it's getting at the moment. So I wholeheartedly support this motion and hope that we can work together to get this underway.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councillor Kerr. Councillors, I'd just like to note it's nearly 10 p.m. So in accordance with the Brim governance rules, we must vote to continue the meeting. So may I have a mover of a motion to extend the meeting time for 30 minutes? Councillor Kerr. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Brunton. Okay. Can we all vote to move the motion? Yes. Okay, that carries. Okay. So, would any other councillor like to speak for the motion? Councillor Lancashire.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. Yes, I certainly would like to support this motion. This is I understand, a Vic Roads road, so it's not something that council's having to pay for. It's something that we're advocating Vic Roads to fix up. And unfortunately, when you've been around as long as I have, there's quite a story that goes back relating to why this stuff up happened. The story is that the city engineer at the time allowed the road to be narrowed on the basis that he didn't believe Melbourne would grow beyond that point, and simply didn't need the extra road width to allow it. Now, look, that alleged disaster that occurred in terms of why this road wasn't simply provided in the form that it should have been provided is, I suppose, an indictment and something we could all learn from, about looking to the future, about looking to make sure that we do allow for the future growth in all the things we do. In terms of this, look, I believe an engineering solution is possible, and I certainly support the advocating for it. And that silly decision of the city engineer many, many years ago, let's do what we can to try and correct that problem, because Melbourne has grown well beyond that point. It's a bottleneck that needs to be fixed. So thank you, Mayor, for raising that notice of motion, and support Councillor Kerr. I know you've suffered through that, and down the decades, what a disaster that can be made if you make the wrong decision. It's up to us, like we have seen often. We're working hard to fix these problems up. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lancashire. Does anyone want to speak against the motion? Or okay, let's put the motion to the vote. All right, all in favour, please raise your hand. Okay, that's the majority of votes. That motion carries. Okay, moving on to the next notice of motion. The title of this motion is 13.5 Melton Highway. Councillors, oh yeah, please share the screen. Yeah. All right, councillors, are there any questions or points of clarification for this notice of motion?
I would like to move this motion.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Razzak, Madam Mayor. Is there a seconder of this motion? Okay, thank you, Councillor Lancashire. Okay, I invite Councillor Razzak to speak for the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Nguyen. I just would like to write to Hon Natalie Hutchins MP and the Department of Transport requiring the construction of the traffic light and signalised pedestrian crossing at the intersection of Melton Highway and the Sandpaper Drive in Taylor's Lakes. Number two, beautification of Brimbank Council part of the Melton Highway. I think this is very important because it's very dangerous intersection. Motorists travel at 80 km/h, therefore putting drivers who use Sandpaper Drive at risk when using this section of road. Residents have raised serious safety concerns when turning off onto the Melton Highway from Sandpaper Drive in Taylor's Lakes. This proposal would request funding from the state government to rectify this issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Recipients. Madam Mayor. I now invite Councillor Lancashire to speak for the motion.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. Look, I'm happy to support this motion. Again, as mentioned in the previous one, it's a Vic Roads road, and this is not a cost for council. Vic Roads will be undertaking the analysis of that dangerous and difficult intersection and will make a determination over the issue of traffic lights. And I think that's something we could certainly put to them to consider. On the second part of the beautification of the Melton Highway, it certainly is a major access way through the north of our municipality from the west to the east onto the Calder Freeway. And it's going to take in the future an enormous amount of traffic and growing traffic as we see the suburbs to the west of Brimbank and Hillside grow. So this is certainly a road that we should be looking at improving in terms of its visual appearance, tree planting and other traffic measures. So both of these things are very worthwhile moves for our northern end of the municipality and for traffic and access. So again, thank you for the Mayor for raising this matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lancashire. Are there any other councillors who would like to speak for the motion? Any against? Okay, I put this motion to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That motion carries. Okay, now we're on to the final notice of motion. The title of this motion is called 30.6 Calder Park Site. Can we please share the screen? Thank you. Okay, councillors, are there any questions or points of clarification for this motion? None. Okay, so the councillor would like to move the motion. Councillor Raja?
I move the motion about the Calder Park site as was per shared screen, which is right to Calder Park Raceway Pty Ltd as owners of the Calder Park site, outlining community concerns regarding the current general condition of the raceway grounds and surrounding land and any potential legacy issues associated with the site construction and use. Requesting a meeting to discuss the general site condition, the recent serrated tussock tumbleweeds, event that recent grass fires on the site, current site management and any future plans. Request a site management plan in particular to address community concerns of the site conditions, to address the presence of noxious weed and to outline the site maintenance and management regime. Request a fire management plan to address risk of fire on the site and mitigate any impact risk on neighboring properties, including consideration of larger fire break to separate residential properties from the land. Undertake meaningful and comprehensive engagement with adjoining and neighbouring residents on the matters outlining above. Write to Minister for Energy, Environment and Climate Change the Hon Lily D'Ambrosio, and the Acting Chief Executive Officer of the Environment Protection Authority, Mr. Tim Aiton, requesting an urgent investigation into Calder Park, in particular identification of any legacy issues associated with the original construction and opportunity to the raceway. B, a risk assessment to the site in relation to any issues identified through the requested urgent investigation. C, a management plan to address and might get any identified legacy issues associated with the original construction and operation of the site. Right to the Minister for Agriculture, Mr. Mary Ann Thomas, MP, highlighting the ongoing issue of serrated tussock in Brimbank from sites such as Calder Park. Bring to the Minister's attention the impact on the community and environment. Request that the Department of Agriculture seeks improved noxious weed control on private land by private land owners through the Catchment and Land Protection Act 1994. Right to Fire Rescue Victoria, Western District, requesting consideration on requiring a large fire break along the Calder Park boundary, adjusting the neighbouring residential area. That a representative of Fire Resource Victoria, Western District, meet with the neighbouring residents to discuss their concerns. Provides copies of the letters to the members of the Sydney, the Hon Natalie Hutchins, for information. And that is per report.
Thank you, Councillor Isaac. Is there a seconder of the motion? Thank you, Councillor Kerr. I invite Councillor Isaac to speak.
I would like to say that community near the Calder Park site have raised this concern with me regarding the poor condition on the site. This includes not only the racetrack component, but also the open paddocks. Residents are concerned about the apparent deterioration of the racetrack building and what that may mean for the safety of the racetrack site. They are also concerned about the wide condition of the site and what appears to be a lack of maintenance to the site. Early in December of last year, residents were inundated with the tumbleweeds that appears to have come from the Calder Park site. Early in January, a fast-moving grass fire terrified residents and burned fences along the boundary of the site. I went there and I have seen it, and it's a not very nice scene. People were very scared and they've been asking for something to be done for years. So that's why I'm trying to move this motion and to ask really for help for those residents.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I now invite Councillor Kerr, second the motion, to speak.
I definitely have to echo the Mayor's comments in relation to a lot of inquiries that I've been receiving also from local residents in the area, being a council for Taylor's Ward. I guess aesthetically the racetrack doesn't look the best. The last time I remember it being used was in the 90s when I went to the Guns N' Roses concert. So I think that precinct has the ability to become something amazing for the community. And, you know, I do support the fact that we need to look at, you know, ways of improving that area. And also, I guess there's a lot of hazards with fire that we've experienced this year. So, yeah, I'm happy to second this one.
Thank you, Councillor Kerr. Are there any other councillors who would like to speak for the motion? Councillor Lancashire, you want to speak?
Thank you, Acting Mayor. Thank you, Madam Mayor, for raising this notice of motion on this important issue. And I agree with Councillor Kerr that as a Taylor's Ward councillor, this is quite a serious issue. As a planner for the city of Keilor many years ago, I was aware that There had been tyres placed there in those filled areas, and goodness knows I hate to think what else might have been placed amongst the tyres. It may be a ticking time bomb for us in terms of what is going to happen in that area in the future, or what could happen. Certainly, we were all shocked by the fires that occurred through that area and the lack of fire breaks that had occurred. A wet season, summer season, had overwhelmed the normal processing of cutting back grasses in those areas. So we didn't seem to have processes right to deal with a wetter summer and extra growth. So there's much to be followed up, and I think that's encompassed in the motion you put forward. So I would certainly support it. And just to say that when I was younger, I was never allowed to go to Guns N' Roses and other concerts in that area by my parents. But other than that, well done, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Nkishia. Are there any councillors who want to speak against the motion? All right, I put this motion to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That motion carries. Well, thank you, Mayor. You are now the chair of the meeting.
Thank you all. I really appreciate support. As I always said, that people got voted us in, and we are here for people. So we had a really good outcome tonight for our community with all of the motions and everything that we voted on. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Jasmine Nguyen. We're going to item 14, which is a notice of motion rescission, and there are no rescission motions. We're going to go to item 15, urgent businesses. I would ask CEO if there is any urgent businesses.
No, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
No, Madam Mayor.
I'll go now to item 16, which is confidential businesses. There is no confidential businesses. Thank you all for attending and for your interest in tonight's meeting. I declare this meeting closed at 10:10. I instruct host to stop recording of this meeting.